This video was voted by my Patreon members, so thank you so much. If you also want to vote for what videos I make in the future, please definitely consider joining. I'll leave a link in description. Hey guys, yeah, another finger here on YouTube. So at this point, you all know that Taiwan is currently facing a threat of a military invasion from China and has always been since the Republic of China came. And so today I specifically want to share with you what that means for regular Taiwanese people living here and share with you some of my experiences growing up here as a Taiwanese citizen. So it's definitely not anything too serious. It's not like super dramatic because as you all know, nothing has actually happened in Taiwan yet, unlike Ukraine. So it's not like we cannot live our normal life because of this. And it's not like we have to worry about it 24/7 and cannot think about anything else. But the worry is definitely still there because we don't know if there actually will be an invasion, and if it will, when will it happen? So as long as the worry is still there, as small as it is, it definitely still reflects on a lot of aspects in our life. And because of that, I feel like there are a lot of experiences that a lot of Taiwanese people might share that people from other countries that do not have to worry about war might not have experiences. So this is really what I want to share with you today. But of course, everything that I said today will be based on my personal experience and observations, so it might not apply to every Taiwanese person. So the first thing I would like to share with you is that I remember growing up, even when I was like a little kid, the adults and the teachers around us would already tell us and teach us about this possible war and invasion, specifically because the school that I went to was right next to an Air Force base. Several teachers from our school would sometimes just randomly throw in this fact out of nowhere during the class that if China ever invades, we're like in the immediate bombing zone. And some teacher would also teach us where to run to if that ever happens, because our school also happened to be a shelter for if emergency ever happens, for example earthquake, and the invasion was definitely one of those emergencies. So I remember that when I was about 5 years old, I was already aware of this war that might happen because the adults around me are constantly talking about this, and I'm feeling like the reason why the adults during that time were so sensitive about this might be because in 1996 China was really about to declare war on Taiwan, because back then Taiwan just elected our first president through universal suffrage, and it was obviously a huge leap forward towards democracy. So the CCP was not happy about it, so they were about to declare war, but then the USA stopped it. But the thing is, 1996, where the invasion almost happened, was also the year I was born. So I suppose it was the reason why, since I was a little kid, I was very used to having adults around me talking about wars and a possible invasion. And one thing I definitely find very interesting is that these adults are talking about this with such a lighthearted attitude, and some adults would even sometimes make jokes about it. So really, as a kid, you're not that scared of war, at least not for me, because when I was that young, I really don't have that concept of a war and what it does to your life. And so because these adults around me were treating this like some daily conversation that is like the most normal thing ever, I didn't really give much thought into it. It was only when I grew up and now looking back, I realized that it's probably not that normal. Like, it's probably not that normal in most other countries to have to teach your kid that young about war and what you should do when a war comes, or at least not in our generation, I suppose. So the next thing I would like to share with you is that if you didn't know, most Taiwanese schools have uniforms, so everybody has to wear uniforms to school. And the thing is that many schools actually designed their uniforms to work as a camouflage for their students to hide in case of a sudden invasion. So the most famous example would be this school known as the best high school for girls in Taipei. So their uniforms is green, and they specifically choose this color because there's a lot of trees and greens in their campus. So by doing this, they're hoping that in case there's a sudden invasion and the student have to hide, the color of the uniform would make it easier for the students to hide in the bush and stuff like that, so that it's easier for students to hide when they're under attack. And since we're talking about school, another thing I would like to share with you is that a lot of the schools in Taiwan would plant this tree. I don't know what it's called in English, but in Taiwan we call it bread tree. So I think it's the leaf that is edible and it tastes kind of like bread, which is why it gets its name. And the reason why so many schools are planting this tree is that during war, it can kind of provide as a food source when there's lack of food. So I remember when I was a kid, the teachers also taught us that in case anything bad happens, like during war, if we don't have enough food, we can always look for this tree for some kind of food source. So this next thing, I'm actually not sure if it's just my family or other Taiwanese people are also doing this, but basically what my parents does is that they would collect some jewels and also tiny bars of gold, and they have always told me that it's for if war actually happens and we have to run away and leave everything behind. These jewels and tiny bars of gold are easier to bring with us when we have to run away, and then probably sell somewhere to get some emergency cash. So it's just another thing that I see them doing as a preparation for the war. Okay, so the things that I have shared with you so far are things that have been happening for decades, so maybe my experiences when I was a kid or even started before I was born. But the thing is that as I grow up, there was a time where the war tension really softened out a lot, and even the relationship between Taiwan and China remained somewhat peaceful for quite a few years. So the thing is, a lot of people have already forgotten about this and kind of nobody talks about it anymore. But then, of course, because of the recent Russian invasion in Ukraine, and also because these 2 years China has started to fly their military plane in our territory so constantly, it kind of stirred up this tension again and makes a lot of Taiwanese people worries. So it kind of again became this really hot topic. So I would like to share with you that because of this, the government is actually discussing whether or not to extend the period of mandatory military service. So as I said, as the relationship between Taiwan and China became more and more peaceful, the period for mandatory military service actually also decreases for the past few years. Because this whole invasion thing seems possible again, the government is seriously thinking about whether to extend it again to prepare for the possible invasion. But of course, most people are not in favor of this change, but it's actually not decided yet, so I guess we'll have to see what happens. So finally, it's really just a fun fact that I thought I'd share with you guys. So because of the war tension, there are occasionally some rumors spread around, and specifically this one we have in Taipei is that one of the mountains here is actually said to be empty, and inside this mountain there are allegedly stacks of weapons left there by Chiang Kai-shek so that we can use it in case of invasion. But of course, it's very unlikely to be true, but it's really just a funny rumor that I thought I'd share with you guys. But that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully this video was able to give you some insights on the influence the invasion threat has on regular Taiwanese people's life. So please definitely leave a like if you did, and please subscribe for more videos about Taiwan, and I will see you in the next video.